What's up, fuckers? The bastard Corsi is in this video for the first time in 2 years. Give this bastard a round of applause.
Don't at me.
Anyway, we are going to be wholesome booktubers and give you that good about book challenges. Fuck or any words. Well, it appears I've gone mute.
Shut up, I'm still babysitting.
Sorry guys. Corsi is doing #parent life over in Arizona and can't write the script with me, even though it was their idea. So, let's all go dislike all their videos, all 5 of them. I'll leave the link right up here. So I had this brilliant idea in January of reading 100 books this year. It's Goodreads reading challenge. This bastard decided that that was too much and we condensed it down to 50 books. Not that complicated.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, Sarah was an idiot and thought we could read 100 books in a year, which I calculated it, and that's like around 8.5 books a month.
Sorry for being ambitious.
Nah, you're just dumb. The first thing we had to do was put some rules into play. The first rule that we came up with together is that we can't reread a book and count it. Because if we did that, we'd probably just reread Harry Potter and call it good. So yeah, no rereads.
Right, so these books have to be on Goodreads. That's the way we can ensure that they're not just fan fiction and they're actual, real published books. We can also stalk each other on Goodreads because we follow each other, obviously. And so we can look and see what books are reading and how far we are and trash talk each other through text. It's pretty great.
We are, however, allowed to read books that we started but never finished. Because there's a lot of them, because we both struggle with commitment issues, and we decided that we could start where we left off as long as we remember the place we left off and we can remember the plot of the story.
Yeah, so the book challenges are only this year, and I'm currently sister losing this challenge, even though this maricon over here is illiterate.
You can't say that. I have no idea what it means, but it's coming from you, and I know it's not good.
Why you gotta ruin all of my fun?
Anyway, your boy is winning with a total of 10 books.
10 whole books in 4 months? What an icon.
How many have you read?
Irrelevant.
Get wrecked!
We haven't addressed a single thing in this video of relevancy yet.
Okay, you're right. Should we list the books we've read? That's what normal booktubers do? Are we booktubers? I don't think we're booktubers.
Oh yeah, for sure. Take it away, my guy.
Alright, so as you know, I'm in the lead with 10 books. The first book I read was Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Schwab is my wife. Continue, sorry.
This book is her second book in the Monster of Verity story. It took me forever to read it. It was good. I liked the first one better. The ending of this book was really bad, but we're just gonna give Schwab a pass on it. Great author, great times. The next book I read was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This book is really good. Gives me like Marauders vibes with these 4 guys, and there's like a love story in there, and there's some magic, and just a great time. It's a series. I plan on continuing in the series. I have the second book. Haven't started the second book. But definitely gonna try to do that this year. Alright, the next book you guys are gonna give me crap for is The Giver by Lois Lowry.
Yeah, that's wifey number 1. Lois always pulled through.
This is a book that everybody read in 6th grade and 5th grade, and it's a classic, and everybody's like, oh my god, The Giver, and there's a movie, and I just read it this year. It was really good. I didn't like the ending. As my list continues, you guys will see a theme that I just really hated the endings of every single book I read. I don't know why. That's just what's been going on. But all around, a good time. 10 out of 10, classic. If you're in 6th grade, just read it now. After that, I read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I had to read this for English this year. Going into it, I really thought I would hate it because I hate most books that we have to read for English, but I actually ended up really enjoying it. Gatsby, great guy, a little creepy when it comes to Daisy. Tom's just an ass, and Nick is everything, loved Nick. Should have had more Nick. It was a good time though, so for a book that I had to read in English, good times. After that, I read this glorious book right here, Jacobite by William Ritter. This book was amazing. I loved it. It's basically a mix between Sherlock and Supernatural, which are my two favorite things. Jacobite is just a little baby, awkward. It's just amazing. I really recommend this if you like Sherlock and you like Supernatural. Been telling Sarah she needs to read it, but she hasn't yet. So she's missing out though. Great book. Good times. Okay, the 6th book I read was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. Listen, I know, don't yell at me. This is my first Cassandra Clare book I've ever read. Haven't started the Immortal Instruments Shadowhunter series. I started with this one. Started with this series. I think it's the prequel. Most people say to read the Immortal Instruments first, but I totally started with this series mainly just because I liked the cover better. But I googled it and I said you can read it whatever order you want. Cassandra Clare is an amazing author. I understand why people are riveted over her books. It was really, really good. And Will Herondale, he was a good time. Loved him. I have Clockwork Prince on my shelf. I don't know when I'm going to read it, but I'm definitely going to read it, and I'm definitely going to try to read Shadowhunters this year too, and just really, really excited for all of that. I listened to City of Ghosts by, guess who? V.E. Schwab. Technically, I think this book is middle grade children's book, but I loved it. I loved every part of this book. I listened to it in one day. It was amazing. It has ghosts and travel and Schwab. What more could you ask for? Absolutely loved this book. Would recommend. I think she's turning it into a series. I think the 2nd book is already out, but I'm not sure. But if it is, I'm definitely going to try to grab that and read that because I loved City of Ghosts. I went on an audiobook spree. So after City of Ghosts, I listened to Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. Sorry if I'm saying her name wrong. I liked this book. It was okay. I had a strong beginning. I really liked the beginning, and I liked the middle-ish, and then after that it kind of just went downhill, and I thought the plot kind of moved too fast. We needed a little more built up and a little bit more characterization of the characters that she gives us. I don't think I'm going to continue this series, even though I know a lot of people who really like them. I don't know. I might, because I do have to read a lot of books this year, but I just have other things that I'm definitely going to read before I think about continuing the series. After that, I read Beastly Bones by William Ritter. This is the 2nd book in the Jacobite series. Really good. I know you guys just heard me rant about Jacobite. This book was not as good. Jacobite was amazing. This was just not it for me. It just was lacking the supernatural aspect that the first one had, and this one was mainly more focused on Abigail, his assistant, and less on Jacobite, and I'm really only reading the books for Jacobite. There are 2 other books in the series. I do plan on reading the other ones, but I mean, still a good book, still a good time. For people that like dinosaurs and stuff, this is for you, sis. I just personally wasn't a fan. After that, I continued my journey on the Giver series with Gathering Bloom. This is the 2nd book in the series, although it's not a series because they're different characters, different story. It's a companion. I don't know. Listen, I liked it, but I didn't like it. The middle was really good. The beginning was kind of slow. The middle was great, but the ending was, it made me hate the whole book. The ending made me hate the whole book. Now, I don't know if Lowry's style is just bad endings or what's going on. And it's not that the endings are bad, they go in a direction that I don't think they need to go in, and they're very cliffhangery, and the next books don't have the same character, so you don't really get the needed explanation to the cliffhanger that she gives you. But I have hope for the next 2 books in the series that they're going to be good. So I do plan on reading the next 2 in this series as well. That was the last book that I read all the way through. At the moment, I am 23% of the way through A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavalarda. I don't know how to say it, but this book's really good. I started it in like 7th grade or something, and I got halfway through, and then I had to return it to the library, so I just never finished it. And I told Sarah about it, and she started it, and she finished it before me. So I'm reading it to finish it. I did have to start over because I didn't really remember any of the main plot points, but it's amazing, especially because there are a lot of like Sherlock based novels, and if you read the back, it does kind of sound a little dumb, I will admit, but it's amazing, and you guys should read it if you like Sherlock.
Thank you. I read a sick total of 9 books, starting with A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, my wife, as established. This is the first book in the Shades of Magic series, a wonderful series that I have all the books for, but I'm currently only on the second one. So anything by Schwab is obviously art. This book is no exception. The reason why I said Schwab was my wife earlier on, and like I'm saying it now again, is because V.E. Schwab does a wonderful, I'm going to put this down, I'll put a picture on the thing, does a wonderful job of creating worlds that are so different than things you'd read. Like, no tea, no shade to Rainbow Rowell, but like Carry On was so obviously influenced by Harry Potter and stuff like that. So these fantasy series and stuff like that have influences and are very much similar to other book series. But V.E. Schwab is different in a way that her Variety series and the Shades of Magic series are so incredibly unique and different from anything I've ever read before that reading it feels like such a breath of fresh air, and you love the characters and you love the plot points, and everything about the book feels such perfection because it's meant to be there. Nothing's a filler chapter, nothing's added for whatever, it's meant to be there. Like in this book and most of her books, there's some romance, and the romance isn't ever really a main point, it's just a little fun thing. And that's another thing, that these aren't romance books, they're adventure fantasy books, and that's why her books are so amazing, because it isn't just kissy kissy, it's I gotta go kill this guy because I need to save the world, and I might kiss you, I might not, you know. And I think that's why her books are so unique and amazing, because they're not about romance, and they're not about this. Again, no tea, no shade to Rainbow Rowell. Corsi will literally kill me when they see this video because they've read Carry On like 40 times, but I'm just saying that Schwab is different in that sense, that it really feels so unique to just Schwab. And any book by hers is incredible because that amazing factor that I just said is in every book, and it's something that you really grow to love. Sorry to rant, I love Schwab. The second book I read was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I really liked this book, and then I didn't. The ending I felt was super stupid, and I know that the ending was built for an intention of the next book, but I just didn't feel like it was super strong enough to make me want to read the next book. Like books like, I don't know, like I'll compare to like the Back to the Future series, like the movies, but like, you know, whatever. Like at the end of the first movie, you're like, I need to know what happens. At the end of this book, I'm like, I don't really care. But maybe that was just me because I did read half of this book like a year ago, and then I read it again, starting from there because I remember what happened. But I don't know, just that spark factor wasn't really in it this time, and I just felt like the book was kind of stupid. And I know there was a movie made out of it. Of course, you've seen it. I haven't seen it. I hear it's good, but I don't know, just wasn't really my cup of tea. So sorry to Ransom Riggs. You know, this is like an icon book. The freaking plot and the reason for the writing it, but it was so unique. The like adding pictures that you find and at like craft shows, like these pictures and creating a story out of them is such a unique idea that I've never seen ever. And so that's incredible, but it wasn't for me. So sorry to Riggs and to fans of Miss Peregrine. So I'm sure it's great, but not my cup of tea. My third book I read was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I loved this book. This book was so good. I read this book, I read like this much of the book last year, and then finally finished it this year, and oh my god, I can't believe I didn't finish it the first time I tried to read it. The book is very slow in the beginning. I didn't read this book for school. I didn't read it for whatever. My sister had it, and I was like, I'll read it, that kind of thing. So I read this book for enjoyment, and I didn't do anything like that. And I've never had to read this book for school, and I won't ever read it for school because my high school doesn't include it. Anyway, so To Kill a Mockingbird was really boring in the beginning. I didn't care about anyone except my boy Atticus. I love Atticus and Scout and all them.
I read that book for English last year, and I thought Scout was a boy until halfway through the book when I realized she was a girl.
Alright, I thought Scout was a boy for a while too, and then when I found out she was a girl, I was like triggered, because Harper Lee doesn't give a fuck about any of us, and I appreciate that. But it really wasn't, it felt like, what's the point of this story? And then the ending comes and everything, it's like, oh my god, this book's incredible. Just the way it has, like, its views on everything and what the topics it's discussed is just so good to me that I 100% understand why this is a literature classic. And it deserves that title so much because this book is incredible. And I really liked it. Harper Lee is very good. I will never, ever, ever read her second book because I know it bashes my boy Atticus and gives him the new perspective, but I will forever hold this book as a standalone, as it was for a long time, because this book was so good, and I don't want anything to taint it, nothing. The fourth book I read was Perks of Being a Wildfire by Stephen Chbosky. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. You are a legend, Mr. C. Mr. C. This book is something that I was really excited on reading because I watched the movie for the first time when I was in the 6th grade, so like 11, and I really liked the movie, and I bought the movie on like my little iPad, so I like carrying it around anywhere. And the movie was a really important thing to me because it was one of my favorite movies I watched in a long time because it was just very unique. So when reading the book, I was excited because, you know, books are always better than movies. So I would disagree, but I also agree in this case. So the movies was also written by Mr. C, Stephen Chbosky. So sorry again. So in the movie, the characters are very much true to themselves as they were in the books. The book has a lot more drugs and sex, and it's more of a tragedy than it was in the movie. The movie is more of a coming of age story, and it's about Charlie and overcoming his high school days. This one is not. Themes of mental illness and sex and drugs and finding your place in the world and stuff like that, and it isn't a coming of age story, and that's important to the book. The movie, however, it's important to the movie. So reading the book for the first time felt like ash in my mouth in comparison to the lovely, bright characters that I knew in the movie, like Charlie. Reading about what Charlie did in the books kind of horrified me because it wasn't who I thought. You know, it's not Logan Lerman. But that was different because it was good. You know, it's this new perspective on these same characters in the book, and it was very much different than the movie, and I very much enjoyed that. And the book was really, really good. And if you really like the movie, read the book after you watch the movie, is my thought, because then you can feel the differences. But then watch the movie again, because in the movie there's some parts that they just like don't explain, and it explains everything in the book. So you're like, oh my god, I get it now. And the book is so good and so well done. Stephen is a god. I'm so happy he wrote the movie because the movie would have felt so much different than the book and that would have been tragic because these characters are lovely. Sam, Patrick, and Charlie. The fifth book I read was The Memoirs of Casanova by Jericho Casanova. Let me just tell you what a delight this book was. This book was so fun to read. It was so ridiculous in every sense. Casanova does the most like craziest things, you know. When reading it, I thought, oh, it would be funny because I've only ever heard Casanova as like, oh, like a player guy, like we sleep with a lot of guys. Calm down, Casanova. No. You don't understand. Casanova, this man is such an icon in every way. He's a legend. Reading this book was so delightful is the only way I can put it, because it was so funny, because Casanova does the dumbest things, like I just said, and has sex with so many women, and he just like, you can't even believe this man existed and like is like a reference to like a player, because he's way more than a player. It's godlike, and I loved reading it. I would recommend reading it if you're like a little older. Like I shouldn't have been reading it because there is some like detailed sex scenes written in it. You're just like, oh, Casanova, yikes, this breaks me all apart. But like still, like it was like, Jesus Christ, Casanova, why? This book was just a whirlwind, and I loved it. It is a bit long, so you know, if you don't love Casanova, don't read it. It was pretty slow in the beginning and like hard to figure it out because you know it's Italian names, but like it was a good time. The 6th book I read was A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. This is a copy I have from school, so I'm sorry, I would never heard a book this way. I had to read this book in school, and it was a really good change of pace because we had just previously read Macbeth, and that was 2018, so like it's on this book list. So Macbeth, obviously by Shakespeare, it was older, harder English, but Tale of Two Cities is by Charles Dickens. So going from like a play to Dickens was really a lot. I didn't want to read it at all because Dickens is a slut for really long and involved sentences that take up half the page, and it's hard to wrap your brain around sometimes. So my advice is read it, read a spark notes on it, and then read it again. You're like, oh, I know what's going on. Like halfway through, you like finally figure out the mentality of the book, and it gets good. You know, like Storm the Bastille, all that fun stuff. Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I really like history, and so reading this book was a lot fun for me because it's a lot of history about the French Revolution, and it was so good. Writing the essays about that and doing like quizzes on this and vocabulary on it was fun for me too because like it's such a good book that you're like, okay, I want to learn more about it kind of thing. Obviously you're not really into history, you probably won't like it as much, but like I liked it, so you should read it because I know everything. Also, the ending was perfect, and it was perfect, and it was a good time all around. Then we've got book 7, which was Secrets for the Mad by Dodie Clark. This book was on Scribd, so that's why it's not here with me. I felt so shitty about myself when reading this book. And I know it's like, okay, well that's kind of harsh, because I love Dodie Clark. But reading this book felt like I was intruding on somewhere, in some place, in someone that I didn't belong in. But reading this book really, it felt wrong, and I felt bad while reading it. Jodie has said that she has like problems with oversharing, and I'm not gonna bash, no tea, no shade. I read the book and I loved the book, but reading it felt too much, you know. But after reading it, I kind of had like a new perspective on certain things that I looked at, and I was like, I never thought about it in this perspective. I never thought of this way. And reading the book really opened my eye to certain things that I wouldn't have noticed or thought about. And that was really big because I read a lot of books, and I've never had something that like impacted my thought process that much as Dodie's did. And it's not like other YouTube books where it's like, here's how I hit 1 million subscribers and blah 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 blah. It wasn't. It was about Dodie at her core. I now watch her with a newfound respect. I did respect Dodie before. Icon. We love her music in this house. I now respected her experiences and her life and everything about her as like a whole being, because I felt like I truly knew her at the end of this. The 8th book I read was Things Fall Apart by Chinwe Achebe. I know I did not pronounce that right. I am very sorry. I had to read this book also for school, and it was a very nice change of pace from Dickens' long and involved sentences, because this book was very simple. You know, the text is pretty big. There's not a lot of pages. It was a nice, easy read. No, it was not a simple walk in the park read. This book is, okay, so this book, I'm going to give you more backstory than the other ones, so just my opinion. This book is set in Nigeria, and I'm going to pronounce all of these wrong, and I'm very sorry, in this, like, clan called the Umofia, and it's about this man named Okonkwo and his family and his clan and all that. So most of the book is about him, and you get such a rich understanding of the Umofia's culture and how they think and how they live, and I never really understood that in the way I did in this book. It didn't take long, but reading it felt like something so normal, like, oh yeah, even though their culture and their way of living is so different from Western way of living, but reading it felt so good. This is a book about colonialism. If you didn't know that, I'm kind of spoiling the ending. It's not really. This book's about colonialism, so when the Europeans are introduced, it feels so alien to see them, even though we're very familiar. Even though I'm very familiar with Western culture, finding them in this setting felt alien. I'm like, I can't understand these people. So it really takes you into a new mindset that you don't expect to find in such a small book. So this book is incredible. If you like history again, I'd recommend. Such a good book. Oh my god. The final 9th book I read was Study in Charlotte by Brittany Calabaro. I'm sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong. Study in Charlotte was really good. Corsi recommended it for me, and at first I thought it was kind of stupid because, like, oh, the great whatever granddaughter of Sherlock Holmes and the great whatever grandson of Dr. John Watson solving crimes together, how wacky. It seemed kind of stupid to me because, like, it just seemed like a fan fiction, honestly. I was wrong. The book was so good. I read like 3 pages and fell in love with Watson. He's a legend. And Holmes, she is such an interesting character. Like, they are not John Watson and Sherlock Holmes in, like, now modern settings. They are very different people. And while reading it, you find that out, and it's like, oh my god, because I felt like they're just gonna be some, Sherlock and, like Holmes and Watson solving crimes, yay. But you really got to know them as a character and all that kind of jazz. So it was really good to read. I gotta admit, at the end, there felt like there was, like, too many plot twists for it to be, like, 100% enjoyable. It was like, oh, we solved it. No, wait, this happened. No, wait, this happened. Blah, 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 this happened. I'm like, oh my god, I don't care. So at the end, I was like, I was annoyed, but it was still really good. The ending was overall a good ending, and throughout the whole book, the mystery build-up and all of that was so incredible that I was like, I don't even care about this small section of, like, small problems. So I was like, the book was good. I have started the second book, and I only read a little bit of it because I'm reading a bunch of books right now, so I gotta admit, like, whenever I can get back onto that book, hopefully it's good. I can't even remember what it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but this is what it looks like, so I'm, like, 4% into that book, because I'm Goodreads, so I know my percentages. So, but anyway, the book was good. I recommend if you're into, like, mysteries and stuff. You don't even really need to be that familiar with Holmes and Watson, so it was a good book.
Moral of the story, I have great taste in books and you should listen to me.
Also, we're gonna try to do weekly updates on, like, book process, and, like, hopefully by the end of the year we'll, like, complete 50 books, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Now, let's talk about the magical app, hashtag not spawn, but you already know that because we have like 5 subscribers.
This app cured my depression. Hashtag just Lily things. God, I'm an asshole.
Script is kind of like Audible, where you pay a monthly fee of around $9, I think.
And it's a really good idea to get it if you like reading a lot, because there's books on there that, like, sometimes you can't find on any things, and, like, that are, like, sometimes you can't find in libraries, like, anywhere, or, like, the books are really expensive. The subscription is 100% worth it because it's not even that much, so it's a good time. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Once you pay your monthly fee, you get full range access to all their books, whereas on Audible, I think you have to pay for them or, like, earn coins for them. But once you pay your monthly fee, you get free range of all the books, and they have, like, ebooks as well, not just audio.
Also, 1 month free trial. Let's all scam the system. Fuck yeah.